Well, good morning. Welcome back to Grandma and Grandpa's Make Do Homestead. Here we are at a beautiful Monday morning. It's a lot chillier than what it's been, and we want to talk about lettuce this morning. So without further ado, here's our video on lettuce.
Well, like Grandpa said, here we are in our little tiny lettuce patch this morning, but I'm kind of excited about lettuce. It's such an underrated crop in the vegetable garden. I actually think it's a lot of fun. Number one, there's so many varieties you can choose from. There's just all different types of lettuces and greens. This year, in keeping with making do, I bought one packet of seeds with 40 different types, and I used what I had in the packet, and that gave me 3 different types of lettuces. So that's what I've planted, but there's all different kinds you can use. This year I planted, it's all wet. We had a heavy rain, and but I'll show you what we have here. We have butter crunch lettuce in this first row. We have red romaine in the second row. And over here we have, it's called Paris Island romaine, and I would recommend that to anybody. Paris Island romaine. It's crispy and it's a little hardier than a more tender leaf lettuce. Next year, if I do the same things with seeds, I'd like to try other varieties, so I could share some of these plants with any of you out there, and you could share maybe some different types of seeds with me, and we could get a big variety between us all without buying so many different packets of seeds. And then here we have our spinach. Anyway, so it's fun. It's also pretty, I think, with the reds and the greens, and you can get speckled and all different kinds. It's just a pretty crop to grow. There's so many uses for lettuce. Last week alone, like, I've been cutting this and cutting this, or picking this and picking this. Last week, one day, we made a main meal out of it and had steak salads. Another time last week, we made a dinner out of it and had taco salads, and I included the onions weren't really ready, but I cut off some onion tops and I put in some cilantro and chives and different things into the salads, and some spinach, some kale, and you can also just, it's so nice to just anytime you want, come down and get a fresh salad for just an everyday salad. And of course, when your tomatoes are in, lettuce is wonderful for BLTs, or anytime you want to make any type of sandwich. One thing I'm really excited about trying, and I have to thank Meg and Zach for my Mother's Day gift, I got a dehydrator, and you can cut lettuce. I wouldn't have enough in my small garden, but for those of you with bigger gardens, you can cut a bunch of greens, put them in your dehydrator if you have one, get them nice and crunchy, and just whip them up in your blender, and you've got a nice powder. And over the winter, if you want some fresh greens from your garden, just add the powder to a smoothie, and you're still eating from your garden and getting those good nutrients. And another thing I love about lettuce, it's one of the first things in the garden, and it's just a wonderful way of sharing. what you've been blessed with. For instance, take one of your cuttings and get them nice and clean, wash them up good, put them in a bag along with maybe some green onions or some parsley, some chives, whatever else you have growing, and put them in a nice bag, all fresh and clean. Maybe even make a little jar of vinaigrette and share them with a neighbor or an elderly person or someone who doesn't have access to a garden or who just enjoys it, because it's just one of the first things from the garden to share, and people really seem to like that. This year I did an experiment. Use in and grow them, and I've got a big batch of different lettuces, like a big pile of it, and then I take my scissors, and I always followed the method called cut and come again. I would just snip off all the tops and put them in my bowl, and we'd eat them, and then they'd all grow back again, and I'd come and do the same thing. Well, this year I decided to just plant them in eggshells and plant individual plants. I think I'm not getting as much lettuce, but it's turning out real nice. And I'm also cutting it different. I'm not cutting across the tops, but I've been reading if you leave the center stalk, you get a bigger crop. So I'm trying that this year, and so I'm going to show you how I've been harvesting it this year. I have a feeling either way is good and either way is okay, but it's fun to try new things. So, for instance, let's start with some of this butter crunch. Here's your center stalk, and what a lot of people are recommending now that I'm trying this year is just to break off the outer leaves. And I've done this, I did this completely to all of them twice last week, and you can see it just keeps growing and growing. It's pretty muddy because we have had heavy rains and the mud is splashing up. So I should mulch this, but I haven't gotten to it. So I'll just wash this really good, and you can see how quickly, let's put some red in there. And I'll just keep going along, but you get the idea. Here's some of my favorite, the Paris Island romaine. It's really crunchy. And you just keep picking from the outside and leave the center. And I'll let you know at the end of the season if I feel, for our garden at least, that one way was better than the other. Sowing seeds directly into the garden and cutting them off with the scissors right from the top, or planting individual plants and then harvesting from the side. I think I'll put a little kale in today and some spinach. I won't pick it all because you don't need to keep seed to be picked, but this just gives you the idea. I'll fill up the bowl, and we'll have a nice bunch of salad. I think I'll also put some green onions and some chives and maybe a little more parsley in. And so there's lots you can do with it. It grows really good in the cool weather, and then as the days get really hot, it tends to get more bitter and to bolt. So what I usually do is when this batch is no good anymore, I'll pull it out and put it in the compost, and then I won't use eggshells. I'll just sow some seeds directly into the garden and start a second batch. And one thing I might try this year is letting some of it just go to seed and saving the seed, because if you plant heirloom seeds, I have heirloom, organic, non-GMO seeds that I planted in all the eggshells. you can save the seeds over the winter and then you don't have to buy any next year, but I have never tried that. That'll be something I'll try if I get time. So I think we've kind of covered the many uses and joys of lettuce. It's good nutrition, and now we'll go up to the kitchen and I'll show you how to wash it so it's nice and clean and fresh. See you up in the kitchen. Well, we've got our lettuce in the kitchen, and I'm just going to show you quickly how to wash it. And this really needs to be washed today because of the downpour we had last night. As you can see, it's quite muddy. I could have prevented that by mulching, but time didn't allow, and so no problem. Clean this real easy. What I do is I begin by just swishing it around in some cold water and get just the basic dirt off, and then dump that dirty water out. Then I fill it up again with cold water and just let it sit. And a lot of the dirt will just settle at the bottom. And then I go maybe do a little work for 10-15 minutes, and then I come back and kind of lift it out. It works a little better if you lift it out rather than pouring it out with it in it. Otherwise you're pouring the dirt right back over your lettuce. But you can do it that way. You just rinse it a little more. Then I do it again. And I keep rinsing and draining and rinsing with clean water until then I would let it sit, soak, let the particles go to the bottom, rinse it out again, and I just repeat that in between my other things I'm doing. It only takes a minute until it's nice and clean. And it's not clean enough yet, so I'm not going to put it all out, but I wanted to thank Becky for this nice produce drying mat she got me for Mother's Day. Then you just take your lettuce when it's nice and clean, spread it out to dry, and you can, if you don't eat it all that day, you can pack it in a plastic bag or in a bowl and just keep it in your refrigerator for a while. But it's just so good. But before I wanted to show you, my green onions weren't ready, so I thought some chives would be a nice addition in there until I get more things coming up in the garden. But before we close, I just wanted to tell you this video has been all about lettuce. And you know, I've told you before that when I work in the garden, it just brings so many thoughts of God to my mind. And I was thinking, there is lettuce, and then there is let us. And in the Bible, there's so many verses that says, let us. But I thought I'd share one with you today from Hebrews 13:15. It says, through Jesus, let us continually offer to God a sacrifice of praise. And every day there's so many things to just look around us and see that we can truly continually offer God praise in the good and in the bad. And so we've learned all about lettuce, and hopefully we can continue to apply the let us into our daily lives, as well as the fruit of our hands in the garden with the lettuce. So see you at the next video.